morning, this is Frank Fortunato with CATEX-TV. This is a live broadcast from London, United Kingdom. It's now 4:30 p.m. in London. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S., and it's 12:30 in Bermuda. Today is Thursday, May 27th, 2010. If you need to reach during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. Our demonstrations over here of the CATEX virtual exchange technology went exceedingly well yesterday. We had a number of high-ranking individuals from Lloyd's who came to the demo, as well as a wide representation from the London reinsurance community. There'll be more to report on that tomorrow when we return to the United States. We'll get to the news in a second. There's some things I'm not going to cover. Tensions continue to escalate on the Korean Peninsula. Pyongyang has abandoned unilaterally an alliance or a treaty that exists between North and South Korea, the object of which is to prevent the inadvertent breaking out of war between the two countries. North Korea declared that the treaty no longer is in effect. You can draw your own conclusions from that. Meanwhile, in the United States, people are waiting with bated breath. A number of people are online right now on the British Petroleum website looking at the live camera flow of the spill in the Gulf of Mexico. British Petroleum continues to progress with their top kill effort to cap the well. As we speak, millions of gallons of cement are being pumped into the well. BP's Chief of Operations, Doug Suttle, said in Louisiana this morning, actually just about an hour ago, that the procedure is proceeding as planned. There's no way to determine yet whether or not the success of the endeavor has been reached. Suttle said that they will know for sure when oil stops leaking. I would invite you to go to www.bp.com, find the link, and watch the spill occur in live TV yourself, and you can determine when in fact it stops. Meanwhile, the oil spill we reported on yesterday in Singapore has begun to cause some difficulties. About 4.5 miles of beaches in Singapore along the east coast have been closed because of oil which had damaged the beach now. 18,000 barrels of light crude oil spilled from a Malaysian tanker called the Bunga Kelana 3 are now imperiling the Singaporean beaches. It collided with a bulk carrier called the MV Ailey Burley on Tuesday in the Singapore Strait. The Singaporean National Environment Agency said that it will take the next few days in order to clean up the coastline. Some reinsurance news. W.R. Berkley said that they're going to increase its reinsurance premium prices on oil rigs by 40%. And when W.R. Berkley talks, in this instance, people listen. They're one of Transocean's insurers. Transocean, of course, is the owner of the rig in the Gulf of Mexico. The chairman, William Berkley, said that once it has raised prices for insuring offshore oil rigs 40%. Berkley said that they've not scaled back on their willingness to cover oil rigs, but they said obviously they're going to charge more for the coverage. That seems like a better choice for us. They added that we'd write the exposure again at the rate we charge, but we would happily write it again at a 40% increase. Mr. Berkley also had an interesting comment about Warren Buffett. He said demand for insuring offshore oil platforms will rise even with price increases. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, said Berkley, could benefit as one of the few companies with the capacity to cope. He said, quote, "It may end up being a wonderful opportunity for Mr. Buffett." Reuters has reported that Berkley was an insurer of the Transocean rig and has paid out $25 million on it, but after reinsurance, their net will only be $5 million. Well, on June 1st, the hurricane season begins in the U.S., and at clockwork, here come the predictions. Tropical Storm Risk is saying that they're expecting 16 North Atlantic storms during 2010. According to TSR, there is a 77% probability of an above-normal Atlantic hurricane season. There's only a 5% chance of a below-normal season. The company expects 16 storms to form, including 8 hurricanes and 4 intense hurricanes. Of course, the next thing we'll hear is from Hurricane savant Bill Gray. He'll report out from Colorado State University. I'm sure lickety split, so we'll hear from him as well. Regular viewers of this program are aware of this commentator's view of these predictions. Here's one thing that didn't require a prediction. You can go to the USGS site and see this. It's a big blue dot. There was a 6.4 earthquake struck off of Okinawa yesterday. There have been no immediate reports of casualties or damage. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center did not issue a bulletin. The quake was about 140 miles east of the Okinawan city of Naha. Now, meanwhile, here's an interesting thing. If you have seen the news today, you've seen that Apple has surpassed Microsoft in total capital value. It's now the second largest company in the United States after Exxon. Well, one of the reasons for that are because of the proliferation of those very successful iPhones. Now, I, of course, own such an iPhone. The iPhones are produced under contract by subcontractors to Apple. One such subcontractor that produces the iPhones is a Taiwanese company called Foxconn, F-O-X-C-O-N-N. Foxconn, which is headquartered in Taiwan, has a factory in China. They have a big problem there. There's a relentless pace on the assembly line. The people who work there are under increasing pressure by their owners to produce more and more iPhones. And oddly enough, unlike in the United States and in other Western countries where people go out on strike or rise up against management, another tactic has been chosen. Suicides. There have been 12 suicide attempts in the past 3 months. 10 of them have been successful. The last one was yesterday. Apparently the method of choice for suicide is for a disgruntled worker to climb up to the 7th floor of the building and leap. The Taiwanese president said that he is saddened and upset by the recent string of suicides, and they are instituting immediate counseling efforts for the workforce. And he said, although this may sound silly or a dumb measure, we are providing netting around the facilities along the high floors. At least it could save a life should someone else jump. Apple in Cupertino, California said, we are saddened by these events. And finally, in the United States, yesterday, despite the carnage on Wall Street, there was a little glimmer of hope. New home sales jumped about 15% during the month of April. They surged as an expiring federal tax credit for buyers helped fuel the activity. Now that the tax credit has lapsed, many analysts are expecting sales to slump in the months to come. One other bit of economic news is that the Chinese economic minister said this morning, about 2 hours ago, that rumors that were floating around the financial markets that the Chinese were reevaluating their euro holdings were groundless. That's resulted in an uptick on the Hang Seng in Hong Kong. So we'll wait to see what happens here when the London Stock Exchange opens and the FTSE opens. That's the news from London. If we have anything breaking, we'll come back and tell you. If not, we'll be broadcasting tomorrow from Princeton, and thank you for watching.